I was upside down in something that was supposed to be right side up. Doing okay.
I think that's one of the... Go find out.
Liz, is that your BMW out in the park?
Didn't you have a new car? New house and your husband just died? Imagination. They sold that car.
Oh, okay. No, where is it? I thought you got a...
The 335?
Well, whatever's a Honda. I mean, BMW's all out.
I thought it was hers only because I saw her.
Well, the last I saw, but unless you got something new. It's parked right in there along where you normally park.
Hi.
Phyllis's car is there, though, I believe, because it looks like it's got a ding in the back corner. I was going to say something to you about it. Whose Beamer is that out there? Do you know?
Who has a Beamer?
Huh?
She has a Beamer. She has a Beamer.
I didn't think her car was a Beamer.
Yeah. Maybe she has two.
Or they have two.
Problem solved.
Mercedes and a BMW.
Well, that's loading.
Oh, I did it on motorcycle. It's the body from
You were shingling a post office and fell off?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was.
Good a story as any, right? You ran into Daryl on the way down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kicked him with my foot. Okay, we're going
Uh-oh, even Harvey's in here tonight. They're all rallying against this
Anything we can do about it?
unified something or other.
all the nitpicks.
Oh, and he brought his buddy with him, too. George Gould. I don't know. Did I tell you my daughter finally got her driver's license?
Yeah, you did. You told me she went down and told the truth and got her license.
And she's also now she had to take some kind of an aptitude test, reading ability and so on. She got a 98 on one and a 96 on the other.
Is that at the college?
Yeah, it's part of the admission process so they can place you properly into the right.
It's garbage.
Huh?
You can get around it.
She's got an application in for some kind of a grant. Pell grant.
Most of my students have
The person they assigned to her as an administrative admissions person is on vacation or something, won't be back until Monday. So, but they keep sending her all kinds of forms. She wants to do that equine practitioner, and all those classes are held right up here at Old Home Manor for that program. Oh yeah, but the majority of this stuff, all of the stuff in the what do they call that when the major, are all those courses are right here.
That'll be nice.
In fact, there's a couple of them.
You know, if she stays interested, she'll stay out of trouble. How old is she?
She turned 49 in May. She's a big girl. She's big boned. I mean, she takes after me. But you look at the size of the ears on her.
When I stand next to her, she's little.
Well, yeah. She's a good kid. She really is, but man, she's had some problems. Hopefully here I can keep her focused and everything will be cool.
My brother and his church showed up at my house in the back too, and I'm like, oh no, when they start doing things then, and I
I
was
thought they
like,
were going up to.
no, they decided not to. They took their motorcycle and they went. My brother's motorcycle's in the shop, so they only had one motorcycle. He was tired of riding it back. So they took it and started pouring in Prescott, so they went and bought some jackets and stopped at my house on the way back.
The mayor's anxious to get started.
Supporting National Night Out.
Where's the proclamation?
I don't know. I made a joke about it.
I'm sorry.
Pass it down. We didn't get a copy.
It should be in the,
What?
proclamation for National Night Out?
Yeah, but he was going to keep it. He thought we should get a copy.
No.
What do I know? If there's one in here, that'll be more than I need. Oh, shit. What'd you think about the news on that thing at our executive session?
I'm outraged. They're going to have to let us see them now and documents before. I mean, we're all going to walk in there. Now they're saying none of us can have documents ahead of time. That's what our latest thing says. And if we can't have documents ahead of time, then we have to sit in there and read them.
This is getting out of hand.
It is way out of hand.
Yeah, it'll quiet down here.
Okay, we're gonna start the meeting in just a couple minutes.
I'm gonna try and go find that email from Jimmy. So Joe's gonna clean up for you.
Oh, as far as the recovery homes? He's probably here.
He's out there.
Oh, is he? Oh, okay.
Anyway, it'll only take me about 2 minutes.
We got enough people representing here tonight.
Probably.
All right.
There's your buddy out there in the front row.
Yeah. All right.
He says he came here to harass us.
Yeah, that's for sure. We'll give him. We're gonna go in here.
That's right.
That's for sure. Okay, everybody, get your microphones fired up. We've got Pat on the phone here.
Mine doesn't
Okay.
have any sound.
That does.
All set? Okay. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please rise and remove your hats for the invocation. Mr. Best?
Our Father who art in heaven, we bow our heads at the beginning of this meeting, thankful for the country that we live in, that we're given these freedoms and these rights to go ahead and govern ourselves. We're thankful for the rain that has fallen upon our lands, that it can moisten and cause things to grow. We ask thee to be with our military who are defending us both at home and both abroad. We ask that they would bless them and watch over them. We would ask for discernment, that we could discuss the affairs of our community, that we could go ahead and come to an understanding and work as a united body. We ask thee to be with those who are on their way or cannot be here at this time, and those that are watching from home on TV, that would bless all of them and bless our community. And these things we say in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. May we have the roll call, please?
Let's see. Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Wojcik.
Here.
Councilmember Hatch.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Croft.
Here.
And Mayor Marley.
Here.
And, oh, yes, and Councilmember McKee, can you hear me? Okay.
Okay. We have proclamations, introductions, presentations, and proclamations. I have a proclamation supporting National Night Out 2014. Do we have any representatives? Do we have any representatives of our police department? Do we have any representatives to come up and speak to us about this? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Marley and members of the council. National Night Out has been a yearly event throughout the country for many years. Chino Valley hasn't participated in it due to some budget cuts and staffing issues. This year we got our civilian officer staff full strength and assigned that back out to them. Our civilian officer, Marilee Easton, is kind of spearheading that and coordinating that effort for our department this year. And it's coming up in August, and she can kind of tell you more about the event.
Okay.
As it happens.
All right. Thank you. Ma'am? Please come up and state your name and tell us about National Night Out.
Hi, my name is Marilee Easton. National Night Out is where the nation gets together Tuesday, August 5th, and they celebrate, our community celebrates against crime.
Okay.
And, sorry.
That's it.
Yeah, so anyways, we're going to celebrate at Memory Park,
Okay.
and a bunch of businesses are going to help, and it's going to be a night of a lot of fun. So I hope our community gets together and comes.
Well, cool. Thank you very much.
7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, 7, and this is on August the 5th of 2014, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation. So, whereas the National Association of Town Watch, NATW, is sponsoring a unique nationwide crime and drug and violence prevention program on August 5th, 2014, entitled National Night Out, and whereas the 31st Annual National Night Out provides a unique opportunity for the town of Chino Valley to join forces with thousands of other communities across the country in promoting cooperative police community crime prevention efforts, and whereas Chino Valley Police Department plays a vital role in crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts in the town of Chino Valley and is supporting the National Night Out 2014 locally, and whereas it is essential that all citizens of the town of Chino Valley be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and the impact that their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in the town of Chino Valley, and whereas police and community partnerships, neighborhood safety, awareness, and cooperation are important themes of the National Night Out program, now therefore I, Chris Marley, Mayor of the town of Chino Valley, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, August 5th, 2014 as National Night Out in Chino Valley, Arizona, and urge all of our citizens to join the Chino Valley Police Department and the National Association of Town Watch in supporting the 31st Annual National Night Out. Thank you. Could you please pass this back to Miss Lewis? Our next order of business is call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council concerning a subject that is not on the agenda. And I know many of you are here regarding a subject that is on the agenda, but this is for stuff that's not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Do we have anyone from the public that wishes to speak at call to the public? Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And please state your name.
You don't know it by now?
The folks at home might not know.
My name's Hans Vang. I'm a resident. I live at 897 Kristen. And I guess coming up into planning meeting tomorrow night at 877, there's a zone changing to go to a rehab facility or a care facility. And, yes, sir.
Excuse me, that item is on our agenda tonight?
It's on your agenda tonight?
Yes, sir.
Well, then I will speak at that time.
Okay,
then, sir.
cool.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. No problem. All right. Any others? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Will Williams. I'm here on behalf tonight of the Chino Valley Lions Club, and specifically standing in for Lee Dudley, who asked me to present to the council for your consideration the proposed parade route for Territorial Days during Labor Day. I have several copies here of it that I can distribute to you. And a couple of months ago, Lee Dudley left a copy of this flyer at each residence on the route and has received no objections to it being carried out as displayed in that flyer.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
If our town clerk can
Thanks,
make
Will.
sure we all get a copy. Thank you, sir. No problem. We have mailboxes here at the town hall, so. All right.
There's only 4.
Others for, all right. Others for call to the public. Okay. That closes call to the public. Next item is a response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials addressed matters raised during call to the public at a previous meeting, and it was a two-part question: the possibility of current sewer users being exempt from the proposed property tax due to the bills incurred when the sewer system was originally established, and the second part of the question was who represents out-of-state owners who are unable to vote on the proposed tax. I was unable to get an answer this last week, so that will be in our next meeting. Current event summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events or ask a staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by the mayor and council will be made and questions answered. No action will be taken. Do we have any? Yes, ma'am.
Just follow up on what I presented at the last council meeting. NACOG approved Joe Duffy as a member of the audit committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Any other committee? Okay. Mr. Smith, did you have a report?
Yes, sir. Briefly, I just wanted to announce that Miss Ruth Mayday has been promoted to the Director of Development Services.
Okay.
That she began that position July 1.
Your mic's on.
Please don't beat on those things. Thank you.
It's cathartic,
All
Mayor.
right, all right.
So Ruth Mayday is now serving as the Director of Development Services. And if folks have concerns about what's going on with the town's zoning and code enforcement processes, she's available to speak with people. And also, there's a brief video clip that I wanted to present to council that Cable One did for us at no cost. And it's a quick spot, if we could just take a moment and play.
Okay.
Oh, we have no sound.
All right.
This would be our first commercial. It does have sound.
Mm-hmm.
This would be our first commercial for the pool, trying to promote our swim season this year. And I'd just like to say thanks for Chino Valley staff and Cable One for a great commercial.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Moving onwards to consent agenda. Any of those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Do we have any items that anyone wishes to remove from consent agenda? Any items on this side? I keep forgetting Ms. McKee. Ms. McKee, did you have any items you wish to remove from consent agenda?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda items 6A, B, and C.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action items. Item 7A, discussion, consideration, and possible action to adopt a resolution ordering and authorizing all matters necessary for a bond election to be held on November 4th, 2014. If this resolution is so adopted, the deadline for submitting arguments with respect to it is August the 4th, 2014. And before I ask Mr. Smith if he has any report on this, I wanted our audience to know that we've had multiple meetings on this, and in our last council meeting, we brought there's actually a three parts to this. The first is approval of the resolution itself. The first part is approval of the ballot wording itself, and then the resolution itself, which these two items are up for a vote tonight. And then the next one is the ballot language, and ballot language will be the subject of a great deal of discussion, as was brought up earlier in the response to the public questions regarding how folks pay for the sewer and that kind of stuff. So anyway, tonight's item A should be just dealing with the ballot, or the ballot language and the resolution, or all matters necessary for that. Mr. Smith, did you have anything?
Just that I believe council's been provided with a handout that shows a strikeout edit provided by Mike Cafiso's office. This is the most recent corrected draft that we have on hand. I think as you go through, items in bold strikeout are to be removed. Items in bold, double underline are to be added. And I think that this is the best and greatest version that we have to date. So it's got the correct dates. It's the final version.
Okay. And as I said, we've brought this up multiple times, and at our last council meeting, none of our council had any comments on it.
I did
Yes,
think of
ma'am.
something, Mr. Mayor. As part of this proposal, and, we went to great lengths to include the location of the planned sewer. But as part of this plan, it was also presented to us that we were going to extend the water line to the businesses out beyond the roundabout. And I wondered why none of that language was in here.
Okay. Do you have the minutes of that meeting? Because I don't recall that being a part of the discussion.
Yeah, it was. I believe Pat remembers it. Mr. Gritman presented it, and I believe our town manager responded with, I didn't get the email, but apparently he responded it was included. And I just wondered why the specific language. I just talked to the attorney about it.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Smith, did you have anything? Because I don't recall insofar as the bond issue, since our water and sewer is in such a short area as compared to the previous proposed bond issue. But go ahead.
There is a Prescott line, Prescott water line, that is on the west side of 89, and it traverses from 4 South down past 5 South. And in initial evaluations of the purchase, the acquisition, that line was not included in the details in the maps that we presented. But that Prescott line is included in the figures that we have. Prescott has made it clear that they intend to transition that line to us.
Okay.
That it is part of the acquisition. Now, it is not on the east side of 89, it is on the west side of 89. But that line is part of the project.
Okay, so at least it's in the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, good enough.
Well,
Yes, ma'am.
will we be attempting to provide water to the people on the east side, the businesses on the east side with this bond, or is just a matter of including that line on the west side?
Mayor, Councilwoman Hatch, We do not have programmed in the general obligation bond monies for a crossing down there. But we did discover through Ruth Mayday's efforts that an old EPA grant that the town received some 6 years ago in the amount of $470 some odd thousand has never been used. And we have gotten preliminary clearance from the EPA to use those monies to cross Highway 89.
Okay.
So we will have some funds to supplement the 1.1 or $1.2 million that the town has planned in interconnect work to connect Prescott's water to our water. And we may be able to affect crossings down south with those monies.
Okay.
But I do not have engineering plans in hand today to do that.
No, that would be a bit much. The thought struck me it'd be neat if we could give that money back to the EPA and ask them to leave us alone, but that would be asking a bit much. Yes, sir.
If we did go across the road to the,
Into your microphone.
if we did go across the road to the other side, would we mandate that all of those commercial businesses then would have to connect?
I think it would depend on what funds were used and whether or not they were within what the council would define as the general obligation bond project. So the council would have to define what the general obligation bond project was and what it funded. And if the council decided to waive connection fees within that project area, then the administration would happily do that. But that's a decision for council to make.
Right. Yeah, there's much of this that we are going to have to work through. Tonight is just the ballot language and resolution.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
like to thank you for that. I remember in the presentation, it was stated that this would cure the promise made in the annexation agreement to provide that location with water when they were annexed in.
Okay.
So perhaps things have changed since that presentation was made. I just want to clarify for the public and myself how those monies are going to be used.
Okay. Like I said, if you stumble across the audio file for that, I'd
I'll find it.
appreciate it. Okay, thank you. All right. Any further discussion from council? I'm going to ask our public, did any of our public wish to speak to this? No. You're all here about another item, aren't you? Okay. After Mr. Vang is done with me, there won't be much left. All right. If there's no further discussion, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution number 14-1041, ordering and authorizing all matters necessary for a bond election to be held on November 4th, 2014.
Second it.
Okay, a motion in 2 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Thank you. Item B, consideration and possible action to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO, to regulate the manner and placement of assisted living facilities, assisted living homes, recovery homes, and related special purpose residences. And Miss Mayday, it's good to have you. I'm sure our audience will have a bunch of questions, especially regarding public hearings. So after you're done, remember, they're going to chew on me with what's left. Okay, so, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the community. Before you this evening is round 2 of the sober home and assisted living facility ordinance amendments that we previously reviewed at the last meeting. In the meantime, Phyllis, the town's attorney, has kindly provided us with a memo explaining our obligations under the Fair Housing Act and how different kinds of these facilities, the difference between a sober home and the assisted living, and how the Fair Housing Act applies to those. And just as a quick reminder, those people who are in recovery homes are considered to be disabled are defined as disabled under the Fair Housing Act, and therefore cannot be discriminated against based on that disability. The assisted living homes and the assisted living centers are different in that they are regulated by the state. They have to be licensed, and those are things where we can regulate the manner and placement of those. The recovery homes, it is very, very difficult to have any sort of regulation on where those go, where they end up. We have included a conditional use process in here simply to try to encourage those people who want to have one of those facilities here to come in and talk with us and have some sort of public process so that they can meet with the public. In terms of the assisted living facilities and the assisted living homes and the centers, I want to make sure that everybody understands that the assisted living homes are for 10 people or less, and the assisted living centers are for 11 and more. The 10-person or less requires a conditional use permit so that everybody in the area can find out what is being planned, and they can come in and have an opportunity to talk to the person that is planning this activity. There's a neighborhood meeting that is required, there is a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission that is required, and there is also a review and final approval by Town Council. So there are many, many opportunities for people who are surrounding an applicant who want this sort of use to find out what's going on, come in and say, yes, we want this, no, we do not. And talk to them about things that you are concerned about in mitigating some of the impact that it may have on your community. Where are you going to park the cars? How many people are you going to have? How many bedrooms do you have? How many people are going to be visiting on holidays and weekends? Those are all of the things that we work out as a part of the conditional use permit. And if they do not abide by those conditions, their conditional use permit can be terminated. We can set it up for a specific period of time so that they have 2 or 3 years as a test run. If they don't behave, if they don't live up to the conditions in that permit, then their permit is not renewed, and they're done. So I want to make sure everybody understands that that is why we have done this in the manner that we have, is so that you do have an opportunity to come in and talk about these. If you don't, if you don't want them in your neighborhood, and that's the consensus, and we have objections, then that's something we take very seriously when we consider these sorts of activities. So it's not a matter of doing these and ta-da, it just shows up in your neighborhood. There are quite a few steps that go into this process. There's one, we have one entity that is considering doing one in Appaloosa Meadows. It is the responsibility of the applicant to provide adequate notice for the neighborhood meeting. I've been made aware of the fact that that has not happened. I've had a conversation with her, and she is supposed to be contacting those people that she mailed to tell them that this meeting is not going to be held and that we're going to have to do it another time. Am I getting off track here?
Yes, you are. You're off the agenda item.
Sorry. I'm Ruth Mayday. I'm the Planning Director now, Development Services Director. Sure. So are there any questions in addition to what's been presented last time in the materials provided by the town's attorney? Sure.
One question. You had said that the town attorney has brought you up to speed on some things regarding the recovery homes. At a previous meeting, our council imposed a 5,280-foot limit between recovery residences, and am I to understand that that's not applicable anymore?
No, that is applicable. We can require separation as long as it's not unreasonable.
Okay.
Now, considering that we have 64 square miles, I think there's plenty of room.
I think that's reasonable. All right, excellent.
The court may find otherwise, but for our purposes.
And the other part of my question is regarding the assisted living homes. That is a 3-part process.
Correct.
Then, public meetings, and then there's the planning and zoning, and then finally the town council.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. All right. You had a question, sir?
I thought you said at the beginning that assisted living and assisting centers were state regulated.
They are. They are not governed by the Fair Housing Act if they are for those specific, if they are licensed by the state. That's a separate issue. That we have the sober homes, which are regulated and governed by the Fair Housing Act, And then we have the assisted living homes that are not, that are regulated by the state.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm getting
Unless
confused.
Phyllis has,
Yeah, well, we did need to get that info because we've got a lot of folks are going to be shooting a lot of questions here in a few moments. But, yes, ma'am.
Mayor, if I could just clarify that for a minute. The sober homes and recovery residences are not regulated by anyone. They basically, at this point, can do what they want. The residents in these homes are protected persons under the Fair Housing Act because they are considered persons to be persons with a disability. That's the ADA and the FHA, both of them, the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Fair Housing Act. So they're persons with disabilities, so they are a protected class, or members of a protected class. As far as the assisted living centers and assisted living homes, they are regulated by the state. They have to be licensed by the state. So for their operations, their daily activities and, you know, how many residents they have and how much space they have to have per resident and how many caregivers they need to have per resident, those kind of things are all regulated by the state. What we're talking about here is zoning, where the town wants them to be within the town, to be located within the town. The town can regulate as to that. The town cannot regulate as to how many caregivers can be there and how many people can be there per caregiver and all that kind of thing.
Okay, great, thank you. Appreciate that. And just for clarification for our audience, because I saw some confusion in some of the eyes out there, folks that are in recovery are considered protected. They're folks with a disability. But if they begin using substance abuse again, then they're no longer protected.
That is correct. So the recovering alcoholic who is sober, the recovering drug abuser who is not using, is protected. The minute they take a drink, the minute they use a needle, whatever, they're done. They're not protected anymore.
Okay, cool, thank you. All right, all right. Ms. Mayday, did you have anything more? Okay. And Ms. McKee, did you have any questions for Ms. Mayday?
No, I'm okay with the explanation, thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. Routinely, we have council discussion and then from the audience, but if it please the council, we can take input from the audience now. Ms. Mayday, please stay nearby, okay? Thank you. I saw a hand back there. All right. Yes, sir. And please state your name.
Greg Brown, 4th District Supervisor, Yavapai County. It's interesting that you're bringing this up tonight because this is an issue that we went through yesterday at the county level. So it's a kind of interesting thing is listening to the council and from planning and zoning. This truly is a planning and zoning issue. It's not really so much the regulations because the feds are very specific on this. However, in the county, what we have seen is up to 8 people living together in a house, maintaining that residence, and they eat their meals there and they take care of themselves there, is one issue. That's a residential living facility or a big family, if you want to call it that, or a lot of other things you can call it. But that doesn't seem to hit anything. But what happens is when this turns into a business, that's where it becomes different. If the landlord is housing seniors to take care of them for any reason, shape, or form, that is a business. They must comply with Planning and Zoning Commission rules in your town. Same thing would be as if it's a treatment facility, sober living, where they're giving actually medications or things like that. They're then operating as a business. So I'm just bringing this to the attention of the council and to the public so they understand what the differences are. And if it's a business, it doesn't have to be in a residential area, if that's what your zoning says, or it can be passed if everybody in the neighborhood says it's okay with them. So just something I wanted to point out. But the big thing is, we want to know who they are because we want to tax them.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
That's the bottom line.
All right. Yes, sir, the young man in the Marine Corps hat.
Hoorah!
I used to be faster.
My name is Lee Paul. I live in Appaloosa Meadows, number 2. I'm on the board of directors there, but I speak only for myself. And I realize that our board of directors is pretty low on the scale as far as a governmental agency is concerned. But we have, in our CC&Rs, we have regulations and regulations against business activity in our community. Naturally, because we want to maintain the value of our property and we want to maintain the tranquility of our community. Some of those restrictions are that the activity does not involve I'm not going to be long here. Business activity does not involve frequent or annoying traffic as determined by the board, by persons coming on the property who do not reside in the property, or door-to-door solicitations or residents by the property. And the business activity is consistent with residential character of the property and does not constitute a nuisance or hazard or offensive use, nor threaten the security or safety of other persons of the property, as may be determined in the sole discretion of the board. Now, I realize the board is pretty far down on the feeding scale, but we do have those rules in our CC&Rs. I, for one, am totally opposed to any of the businesses that were discussed here so far.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee, Mr. Paul, before you leave, are any of your other board members here now tonight?
Yes, as a matter of fact,
Okay,
they
several
are.
of them?
We
Okay,
have
good.
1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm the 5th.
Okay, excellent, because this, hopefully out of tonight's meeting, you'll have some good information to go back to Appaloosa Meadows with. Next. Yes, ma'am. What's that? Yes, sir.
I'm nice to him. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, my name is Sherry Romley. I'm a resident of Chino Valley, also the president of Appaloosa Meadows Homeowner Association 1. I want to just discuss our concerns regarding the blanket changes to the UDO. I guess we may not understand. I have to apologize to Ms. Mayday about not being at any of the meetings that occurred before this, because most of us, if you look at this room, had never heard about it. And maybe we didn't get to the right paper but we didn't hear about these. And we are concerned. We are out there in the neighborhood volunteering all the time. But our issue is more so where these properties, the businesses, are being allowed to be possibly placed by using a conditional use permit. That's my biggest issue. You know, when the SR districts were intended to promote and preserve medium density, single-family residential development, and it wasn't for businesses. And our HOA believes all planned area development, our planned neighborhoods should be excluded from these changes. These single-family residents were established neighborhoods specifically for families and not for businesses. In our neighborhood, we have allowed home businesses, but they're online, so they do not impede or increase traffic flows. They do not increase parking demands. And most of all, they don't change the neighborhood character. And most of the other people in this whole community, they do not want that done either, that their character, whether it's in Highland Ranch, and I'm not speaking for all of them, but I know that there are others that I know that said that's how they would like it, is that it would be a family. So our community has worked very hard to maintain this quality of life, as well as many other neighborhoods in Chino Valley. We know that changes being recommended would lower our property values. We believe there is enough land in Chino Valley, as we drove around today looking, even by excluding the planned area developments or planned neighborhoods, that we could accommodate these homes.
Okay.
Just listing a few nice-looking neighborhoods besides Appaloosa Meadows 1 and 2. They're Highland Ranch, Bright Star, Parkside Village. We have Whispering Winds, Vista Grande Estates, Rancho Vista Grande, Granada Estates, Grove Avenue, which is nice, and someday, maybe Molly Ray. But the list goes on. Unless planned area neighborhoods are exempt, this change would include all of them.
Okay.
Any commercial facility such as this will increase traffic throughout our neighborhood, and as we have a lot of walkers walking in the streets because we have no sidewalks, this creates a safety issue. I know the town has problems with resources, so who is going to monitor the CUPs, and who at the state and federal level is going to regulate and monitor these homes? Because they don't have resources, as we all know. I don't know if Prescott ever resolved their issues with the group homes. They have approximately 120 homes, and they're a mix, so I can't say how many are assisted living facilities and how many are sober homes or recovery homes. And they were recommending to drop the number of residents from 8 to 6 and provide additional regulations of community residents for the use of premises, state licensing, traffic and parking regulations, smoking restriction, and compliance with building and fire codes, possibly requiring a business license, and again, like the 1,200 feet buffer between homes, at least. And I don't know if anyone knows if these were ever resolved, if any of these decisions were resolved.
Okay.
Remember, under the UDO, a group home could be coming to a neighborhood near you, Parkside Village or Grove Avenue. We hope you will consider this broad brush approach and review current problems that other cities have encountered. Until this has been accomplished, please postpone your decision for a later date. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Before you take off, Ms. Romley,
Yes.
let me just make sure I got the salient point here. You're asking that the council consider excluding PADs from this ordinance,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And this young fella here.
Everything Sherry said. I wish I was as good an orator as Sherry. My name is Jay Bates. I'm the president of Appaloosa Meadows 2. And having just heard about this afternoon about 3 o'clock, I'm a little bit unprepared, but two questions come to my mind right away. Number one, all the people that live in our community bought their homes with full knowledge of the CC&Rs.
Mm-hmm.
It does not say anything about business. It does clarify that if there is a business under home occupation, it doesn't, it says you can't have equipment, can't have machinery, or anything like that, which in my estimation would mean if they've got to bring in hospital beds and equipment and everything, that right there would take it out. The second question is, who takes precedent here? I mean, if we've got houses and it's a community of single-family residences, and now we allow a business to take place in there, what's going to stop the next one or the next one? How do we say no to somebody down the road if we've already said yes to somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
So do we just continue on, and a corporation comes in and they start making money with one house? They say, okay, well, let's buy the 5 next to it, and let's have a whole bunch of people. So I'm vehemently opposed to this. I don't think it's going to help our community at all. And if the people want to be in business, go find a place out there with a business zoning and do the business there. But don't come into our neighborhood and try to make it a business.
Yeah. Mr. Bates.
Yes, sir.
I didn't want to interrupt. I had a question for you, though. Has your homeowners association contacted an attorney regarding this, or?
To be honest, I think we just found out today.
Okay. Well,
Nobody's even come to us. We weren't blindsided by this whole thing.
Okay, well, as Miss, yes, okay, okay. As Miss Mayday pointed out, there's a three-part process here, and the first part is a public noticing.
Correct.
That's one of the things that is good about this public process, is that the noticing has to go out, folks have to be notified. Then it comes to planning and zoning, which once again is not done in the darkness. You have posted agendas for P&Z meetings, and then you have town council. So It's unfortunate that you just heard about it today, but the notification process has to go out. So.
One question for the attorney. Do our CCNRs stand, or are they just irrelevant? I mean, if the board passes this and rezones it, then our CCRs become
Since
null and
this is
void?
part of the meeting, would you please answer that if you could?
Mayor and Mr. Bates, the CCNRs are a contract between the homeowners of Appaloosa Meadows or whatever the subdivision is. What we're talking about is zoning regulations. So the zoning regulations do not affect the CCNRs. So in other words, the zoning regulations for your zoning district may allow lots size of 15,000 square feet. Your CCNRs say the lots have to be 35,000 square feet. So even though the zoning says it's okay to have 15,000, a separate approval by the board or whoever your architectural committee or whatever is required for your subdivision. So in other words, no, it doesn't affect the CCNRs.
So in other words, if we have in our CCRs precluding business from being in our neighborhood,
Yeah,
and the zoning now is single-family residence, so if you change it to zoning for a business, then it does change our CCNRs, because then you're allowing business to be in our community.
no. No, because your CCNRs would still not allow business in your community. Your CCNRs are not connected to the zoning. Your CCNRs are a contract between the residents of that development. They're enforced by your development. The town has nothing to do with that.
So let me be clear for a minute. What you're saying is that our CCNRs say there can't be a business in our subdivision.
Correct.
So you rezone it to allow business, commercial, whatever it is.
It's-
But our CCNRs would still take precedent?
Yes,
So they wouldn't be able to have a business even if you rezone it?
right. But the problem is that, you and Commissioner Brown seem to think these are businesses. The courts disagree. The courts and federal law requires that these sober living transitional facilities be treated the same as any other single-family residence, and that they cannot be required to go through any process that is not required of a single-family residence. So even though it looks like a business to us, and for all intents and purposes, somebody's usually making money off of this, it's not considered a business under the Fair Housing Act. It's considered a form of housing.
Now, just to ask
Mr.
one
Bates,
quick
for
question.
just a second, let me just get a quick clarification. Their CCRs do override assisted living homes, but they do not override the recovery homes, correct?
I'm reluctant to give a legal opinion as to what their
Right.
CCNRs do and do not prohibit.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is that there are two different entities here, two different things going on. You've got your CCNRs, which are the contract between the homeowners
Yes.
or the landowners, and then you've got town zoning. Town zoning is not affected by the CCNRs. The CCNRs are not affected by the zoning,
Okay.
okay?
Now, the proposed business in Appaloosa, I understand, is assisted living.
And I don't know anything about that
Is that
case,
correct?
but say there were a case where an assisted living, say, okay, hypothetical, the council passes this code amendment. The zoning code now says that if a assisted living wants to go in the SR whatever zoning district, they have to go through the conditional use process. That's the town, okay? And they also have to get approval, or may not, depending on what your CC&Rs say, they would have to get approval from your board
Correct.
or your architectural committee. Those are two separate approvals. So they could be approved by the town, and the CC&Rs could turn them down.
Okay, so-
That's what I'm saying.
So basically, and it's what the gentleman from Yavapai County said, that the assisted living entity is for business. So,
Yes, sir.
I made that clear.
right.
Was that if you have 8 people living in a house, they're
Yes,
doing
sir.
their laundry and they're having their meals there, then it might be considered a rental property, but that's stretching it. You'd have to get something that would be a rental property. However, the minute you go over to where they're receiving any kind of care, medical care, sober living classes, anything like that, now it becomes a business, and it moves into being a business in a residential area.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Smiley. I want our public to understand that Ms. Smiley is the attorney for the town, and so we try to make sure, because she doesn't, she gets more than $17 an hour, so we try to make use of her time as much as possible. Okay, but so please don't come to council meetings and say my neighbor's dog, or anything like that. So, all right, thank you.
One other
Thank you.
thing I wanted to point out too that we found out this morning. I went
Yes,
through
sir.
this for an hour and a half this morning with our attorney, so just to make sure we knew what we were doing. And the other issue is they cannot get a license with the state without zoning approval from your town or county.
Okay, thank you very much. All right.
But that's
Yes,
only
sir.
as to assisted living, because the
assisted
sober
living,
houses don't
yes.
get licensed by the state.
Right, right. You bet. Mr. Smith, you're
Mayor,
next.
I apologize for making the meeting longer, but I did want to add one small caveat. Within the town's zoning laws, we can only require certain things. The courts are pretty strict about what we're able to do with zoning law. And the town uses its zoning law to control placement and manner of uses, and we use our code enforcement law to deal with nuisance abatement and things like that. But the HOA and the controls that the HOA can place on the property owners because of their nature as a contract can be very different. And so it's a good thing that these two things are separate, because the HOA and the group of people that agree to that contract can have additional controls that the town could not impose. And so it's a good thing that the HOA is there and that the processes are separate.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you. I hope everyone understood that the HOA's CC&Rs can actually exceed that of the town. And as Mr. Smith pointed out, because they have their committees and their boards, they have the resources. So, anyone else from our public? Yes, sir. No, I kept hoping someone in the back row. Kept hoping someone in the back row would raise their hands. Yes, sir.
He did. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor. My name's Hans Fang. I live in Appaloosa. I happen to live right down the street from the piece of property that everybody's talking about. This evening, it was really interesting. We have this protected class of people, and then we have the ability that we can do certain things, but we can't do this, we can't do that. So we've got this protected class of people, but what about us homeowners that have put out a great deal of money to do it? The other thing I made, I don't know if Sherry made this out, was that we signed a contract when we move in there, no home businesses, and this is definitely a business. So I'm not going to pick on you too much, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to leave a little meat for someone else here, and I appreciate your
Thank you.
time and energy, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I think the HOAs have to hire their own counsel on this and not take what our attorney has said as
Yeah.
advice or recommendation to your particular HOA. You need to get your own counsel's approval. She was giving you a hypothetical situation, and the town council is totally separate from your HOA.
You bet. Thank you for that admonishment. Sometimes we think that folks already understand that, but it's good to get that said. Use your own attorney and get their approval. Yes, sir.
My comments may be redundant.
Yes, sir.
I left a little heat on them for you. Go for it.
My name's Fred Rubhausen. I live at 907 Kristen Street. It's 3 doors away from the subject property, right next door to Hans Vang. And I share his opinions, and I share Sherry's opinions, and the opinions of many of us that are here tonight, that we don't want, we haven't agreed, we're contracted otherwise, and we have an HOA, we have architectural committees. I am chairman of the Bar Architectural Committee in Unit 1. And we totally oppose this kind of an operation. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Back row. All right. In the back row.
Hi, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. My name is Annie Lane. I'm a resident here in Chino. I'm a little surprised that no one in Appaloosa Meadows has heard about this. I've missed the last month of town council meetings. Well, hi, guys. And I've known about it, something that the town has been working out for a while now. I don't have a vested interest in Appaloosa Meadows.
Excuse me, Miss Lane?
Yeah.
Point of order, you're supposed to address the
Sorry,
council when
sorry.
you speak. No problem.
My apologies. I don't have a vested interest in Appaloosa Meadows, but I don't believe that any one neighborhood is better than another. And I would also like to wish Robert a happy birthday.
All right. Thank you. That was a surprise. It wasn't on the agenda, so he can't have a birthday. Okay. Easy enough. All right. Any others? Yes, sir.
My name is Randy Brummond. I live next door to the subject property.
Mayor, I just have to interrupt. We're not discussing a subject property. The item on the agenda is a town code, zoning code amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
So if the speaker would please address his comments to the amendment.
To the
town
amendment
code.
itself, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we understand the amendment affects the subject property or could affect the subject property, so.
Okay, I would like
anyway.
to speak to the amendment. I'm a retired Border Patrol agent. I spent 26 years. I dealt with criminals for the entire time. I retired. I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to escape. I ended up here. I don't want criminals and people that are recovering from drugs, alcoholics, possible sex offenders living next door to me. And I am absolutely, totally opposed to this. I was approached by Miss Wynn. She asked me if I would mind if they did a business sort of thing to help the mother. The mother is the one that built the house. I respect that lady a lot. I said I don't have a problem with that. I did not know what all of this, the background information concerning group home entailed. After doing some reading and all that stuff, I'm opposed to it.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay. Any others? Yes, ma'am. And please address the amendment itself. So.
Hello, my name is Sherry Brown, and I live in Appaloosa 2. And I'm just wondering why none of us seem to have heard about this until today. We barely had a chance to come to the meeting and present our views and hear what the proposal is about.
Okay, thank you. I believe, Ms. Hart, our agendas are posted how many days before a meeting?
I would say at least 5 days.
At least 5 days before a meeting, and this was on the agenda 2 weeks ago? Okay, and so it was posted 2 weeks plus.
Well, this agenda for this meeting was posted Tuesday.
Okay, so we've had, this is our second meeting on this. The agendas are posted in the post office, the town hall, and on the internet, is that correct?
At town hall,
Uh-huh.
at the library, at the post office, and on the internet.
Okay, so 4 different places our agendas are posted. We try and let folks know about that. So, all right, thank you, thank you. Okay, any discussion with council?
Well, it sounds to me, not knowing, definitely not being an attorney, but it sounds to me like the HOA has some pretty good protection in their neighborhood, as much as the state allows. Am I correct? So.
In a non-lawyer opinion, yes.
Yeah. So.
Speaking as a planner and not as a lawyer.
All right. And we've got plenty of advice. Yes, ma'am.
And there are a couple issues that I would bring up. You're dealing with the feds in the case of the sober homes.
Correct.
Not the state. And you're governed by fair housing law, and that can be something totally different. One of the questions that I proposed recently to our attorney and to our finance director was whether or not sober homes would be paying a bed tax, and if they would be paying, and the response was no, but they would be taxed as rentals. Is that correct? Basically.
I have to put a caveat on this answer. We are not tax attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
It is my understanding that that is what is done, that these are taxed as rental properties, and they are treated as rental properties for the county assessments as well.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
they would not receive any tax. If they're renting property, we treat them just like anybody else that is renting a home to people to live in. So they would pay the rental tax just like any other home would.
Okay.
And again, the issue with a sober house is that theoretically, although I don't believe it in my experience from my understanding, that if they take a drink or fail to comply with the rules, they're automatically out, although I'm hearing some different things, that sometimes they're allowed one additional chance under certain circumstances, at least in some of the Prescott homes. And again, I think the issue is not so much, it's the number of people in the home, whether you're going to have cars everywhere, you're going to have people coming and going. But the issue would be with sober homes is what happens when the people may be released from those homes, and where do they go, particularly if they've been drinking and such. And I think that is a big concern for a lot of people, because if they no longer have a residence, they're here on the streets. That's been one of the items that has been expressed to me by people very familiar with these homes in Prescott. Just a comment and different proposals about what should be done. The payments to stay in these sober living homes are quite high. And, you know, if they fail, the family may not want to provide the people with housing, and that becomes an issue, and I'm not quite sure how the town's going to deal with that.
Well, if they're drunk in public, that would be a police matter, I'm assuming.
Yes. Oh, hang on for just a second, sir. I wish we'd have had this type of attendance when we first addressed this back in the fall. We had a good study session on this and got to talk about recovery homes for a fair length of time. And they're a hotly contested subject, and that was one of the reasons why we as a council, and I believe it was unanimously, voted to put 5,280 feet between each home. We understand, it's one of the facts of life. We live in a society where substance abuse happens. We don't ask for it, it just happens. And to integrate those folks back into society, to try and get them jobs, to try and get them involved in a meaningful life. We don't want a bunch of recovery homes packed close together where folks feed each other's addictions or failings. But we felt that as a council, we felt that having that kind of a distance between allowed them to have access to the stores, to the churches, to the things in this life that would help them get recovered. So, yes, sir, you had a question. Please come up and speak to the microphone, because we have an audience at home that cannot hear the questions.
My question is actually for Ms. Mayday.
Mm-hmm.
From a planning standpoint, if the zoning change is denied, everything else becomes moot, is that correct?
Well, are you talking about the
Appaloosa Meadows.
The conditional use permit, or are you talking about this amendment to the zoning code?
I guess my question is, and forgive me for being a little novice.
No,
but
that's okay. I'm just trying to get to what it is you're asking.
if everything stays the way it is right now
Mhm.
in our community, then it doesn't matter sober home or assisted living, it doesn't make any difference, they're not allowed there.
The sober homes, because they are protected by the Fair Housing Act, are allowed.
They can be anywhere?
The assisted living facilities, because those are a business, the HOA, if your CC&R say you're not allowed to have a business that disturbs the neighbors, on and on and on, that is up to the HOA to decide whether or not this business fits their regulations or not. But if they go through the process and town council says, yes, we think this is the conditions on this permit are fine, and then they come to you and say, okay, town said yes, you can still say no.
What if town says no?
Then nothing else happens. So if the town council says everybody in the neighborhood has their hair on fire, nobody wants this, then they can say, you know what, this is not gonna work in this location, these conditions are not making the neighbors happy, and no, we don't have to approve it.
I couldn't have said it better, thank you.
Okay.
Can we get a clarification?
Ms. Hatch had a question.
I think there might be some confusion because he was intermixing two different things. If we don't pass some rules and regulations, including that 5,000-foot barrier between the homes, somebody could come in tomorrow and place a home anywhere they want.
Right,
as far
and then
as
somebody
sober
can-
living.
correct, and then
So
somebody can
if
do it
we
next
don't-
door.
Yeah, and they could do it right next door if we don't pass this ordinance. And that's the main issue here, that at least we have some rules
Correct.
by which to control things.
Yes.
Yeah. As I pointed out earlier, it's a part of our society, it's a fact of life, but we felt that type of a distance was something we could work with. And Selena, since you're writing the story on this, it could be sobriety comes to Chino. Just a thought. Okay. Yes, sir, if you would, please. We punish people for raising their hands.
I'd just like to request, if, I assume you're going to vote on this tonight, is what?
Hopefully so.
I'd request a postponement till we have a chance to get counsel and see what all the ins and outs are, because I'm kind of in the dark at this point, and we can't get any kind of clarification.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was responsible for delaying it last time. That was me asking question about our current rules and regulations. And the rest of the council agreed that the 2-week delay was sufficient to give us a chance to get some clarification on the issue.
Okay. All right, thank you. Young fellow with the white hair. That's a couple of us. So.
I may look spry, but I still got a lot of gray. I usually scour the paper and keep an eye on. Oh, my name is Ken Burkett, and I live in Appaloosa Meadows too. Normally, I'm pretty on top of the stuff because I scour the beanie notices and stuff. And of course, since fall, I've been kind of busy. We had a lot of stuff going on in the family. But so tonight, reading the agenda, this is possible action to approve the amendment. So the amendment's been written, is that right? And has it been published other than the post office, online, on cable, or whatever? Where were those 4 places again?
Okay, the amendment itself wouldn't be published. The agenda item reads as follows: consideration and possible action to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, to regulate the manner and placement of assisted living facilities, assisted living homes, recovery homes, and related special purpose residences. And like I said, we had a study session back in the fall on this, and that was posted. And then 2 weeks ago, and then this one.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
For the benefit of the public, you can find out the wording that's proposed if you click on, when you go to our town agendas, there's something called a full packet. And in the full packet, you can see the full, other than just the agenda, you can see all of the items that are being provided to the council, except for executive. Right. And it goes through all of that. If you go now and click on full agenda, you can, in fact, I generally do that because I prefer to do mine on the computer rather than have a hard copy.
Sure. I tried to do, maybe I didn't go far enough down, because like I said, I just heard about this, like I say, around 3 o'clock this afternoon. But, yeah, without knowing what's in the amendment, I feel like we have to pass the amendment before we know what's in the amendment, where we've heard that before, and look what happened. So I just... I know you guys want to get this thing down the road and going, but,
Yes,
man,
sir.
I tell you, it's like, which do I pick, A, B, or C? Do I want to be stabbed, shot, or, run over?
I'm sitting here now looking at the full amendment. She's going to show you here how to get to it.
Okay, that's what I was on today. And
The
the
middle
one on the
one
right
is-
is packet, right? Full packet?
Full packet.
Okay, so the one to the right, I clicked on that, and I went down part of the way, but I
It's- you
guess I
gotta
may
go-
not,
You didn't
I
go
may not
far
have gone down all the way to see the amendment
Right.
change itself. I did pull up the UDO and try to find through that, and that's sometimes a little hard to navigate through, but, okay, so tonight, you're just setting definitions in? Is that kind of what it is?
Ms. Mayday can answer that for you.
So we have some definitions that we're adding that the UDO does not currently include.
Okay.
And then we are adding, as conditional uses, the assisted living in residential and some commercial areas and in multifamily.
Okay.
They are conditional use in almost all of the single-family residential districts, so that there is a required public process. They are by right in multifamily, because it would be no different than any other apartment building, and they are by right in commercial light. That means that people can come in and do it, and there's no public hearing.
Could everyone in the audience hear that? If you have commercial property, you can have an assisted living home without a public hearing. If you have a multifamily dwelling, you can do this without a public hearing. But if you wish to do it in a residential neighborhood, it has to be the 3-part process: a public hearing, planning and zoning, and then the town council.
Okay, so this is to get the language into the UDO tonight. Tomorrow is the first Planning and Zoning Commission to hear about the specific one we're not supposed to talk about tonight?
That's been canceled.
Miss Mayday would be able to tell you that. Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm trying to catch up
Yes,
here,
sir.
I feel like I'm
Yes, sir.
3 months behind, but.
Let's close your ears. So basically, the way the process works is that the applicant is responsible for sending out the
Public
letters.
hearing, yeah.
Telling us that they've sent the letters, so that publishing it in the newspaper, we provide them with a poster, and they're supposed to post the property. This applicant sent the letters, did not have them approved by us, didn't get the ad in the paper, and did not post the property. So therefore, this does not count as a neighborhood meeting, because it was not posted and noticed according to the UDO. So she has to do it all over again.
Okay.
So then we start, so that's the
So
first.
back to square one, okay.
Back to square one.
Okay, so the meeting tomorrow is,
Canceled.
okay, so, okay. All right, because they were talking about it. Okay, all right, well,
Okay.
that's,
Yeah,
now
what-
I'm up to speed.
Well, you bet. What we're trying to pass tonight is an ordinance that deals with the entire town.
Right.
And it's an umbrella. As we've pointed out earlier, the individual residential neighborhoods, they have to go through the three-part process, according to the ordinance that we're hoping to pass this evening.
Okay.
Okay?
Just real quick, write it down,
Yes, sir.
and I'll get out of here.
Yes, sir.
I'm former law enforcement with this other gentleman. I worked in a city dwelling. One of my assignments in my 27 years there was working in crime prevention. What we used to do is do the old-fashioned PIN maps. I'm sure they're done on computer by now. We had 4 of these homes go into a 5-square-mile area. Within 60 to 90 days, we had a 100% increase in property crimes, assaults, and other things. The thing is, we never had to go out to the house, except on a rare occasion, because of fights between the tenants out there, especially in the sober homes. But we did get called a hospital lot, because they would call us when they brought in assault victims, and some of them were pretty brutal. So that's how we started naming these things. So it's just something to think about. I mean, you really got to word these things carefully, because it is Pandora's box once it takes root.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just one last reminder to our audience, if you didn't pick it up in the undercurrent here tonight, our federal government has had much to say about the status here, and they're a bit up the food chain from us, but you can write to them and call them, okay? Just a thought, and vote. Yes, Miss Mayday?
I have nothing else.
Okay, she has nothing more. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and, you know, it's up to the council whether we want to delay this, but certainly if the homeowners association or other group wishes to propose additional amendments to the UDO in addition to what we're doing tonight, certainly they could approach and make that suggestion after they review it with time, or could they not?
I suppose they could, but I'm going to weigh in on this. I feel that after multiple meetings on this and thrashing through this, I think we've got something that will protect the town and still allow us a bit of liberty. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I live in a HOA, and I want a CUP for those groups. That protects my property, and it protects my homeowners association. I'd like to see this passed tonight for that reason. Then we can come back and deal with some other issues, but I like this protection for my homeowners association.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
And to go on top of that, I want everybody to understand that this change to the UDO that we're talking about is not a bad thing. We're not opening the door. These things are already on our plate. What we're trying to do is put some restrictions in there to protect the community. That's the idea.
Just a thought. All right. The chair would entertain a motion.
I move that the approval of the proposed text amendments to Section 2.1 definition in Chapter 3 zoning districts, Section 3.5 through 3.13, AR-36, AR-5, AR-4, SR-2.5, S4-2, SR 1.6, SR-1, SR-0.16, MR, and Section 3.15 CL and Section 4.10, special purpose and temporary housing for the purposes of regulating in the manner and placement of sober homes, assisted living centers, and assisted living homes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. The council may vote to recess the regular meeting and hold an executive session, which will not be open to the public, for the following purposes. A, council may hold an executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1 for discussion or consideration of employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, demotion, dismissal, salaries, discipline, or resignation of the town magistrate. B, an executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3, and 7, for discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney regarding right-of-way easement along the proposed extension of Road 1 East, and for discussions or consultations with designated representatives of the town in order to consider its position and instruct its representatives regarding negotiations for the purchase, sale, or lease of real property located along the proposed extension of Road 1 East. Could we keep the background noise down, please? The extension of Road 1 East between Road 4 South and Kalinich, and to consider a proposal from property owner Stephen Chantos related to Yavapai County Assessor's parcel number 102-01-223E, one of the properties located within the project boundaries. I would entertain a motion to move into executive session after a brief recess.
Yeah.
Okay, 5-minute recess?
Yeah, move that we move in an executive session after a 5-minute recess.
Second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jan Maisie, do you hear us back there? Jan Maisie. All right.
Waiting for them to.
Waiting for them. All right, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
You did good.